So, the story is Gerard Butler. He probably most famous for "This is Sparta." Him, right? Oiled.
Yes.
Why are we looking baffled when I did that?
Well, just for a moment, I couldn't work out what the accent was because it sounded as though it was going to be Scottish.
Well, it's Gerard Butler, isn't it? This is Sparta.
Well, that's a little bit of Ian Paisley. So then I was getting
no. Sparta says no.
There. Anyway, I don't think it's going to be anything to do with the Northern Ireland peace process, the DUP, or anything like that.
No, although, as we said, all science fiction is politically allegorical, and if you wish to see more in it, then that's absolutely fine. So the story is Gerard Butler's brain has been replaced by some effectively new gizmo, which enables him to be played as a computer game. It's in the future, okay? And somebody has discovered a way of putting a thing into your brain which turns you into a real-life sim. You know what a sim is?
Yes.
I didn't, but apparently...
You surprised me not at all.
No, fine. Sims, okay? Apparently people play these games in which they have other lives, simulated lives.
And you can build up a whole family.
Can you? Why would you want to do that? Why don't you just have a proper family?
Well, because you're 9.
Oh, okay, fine, fair enough.
And what they do, it's a great bit, which they discover very, very early on, that it's possible that you get your mother figure and your father figure and you have children, then you build a swimming pool and then they go for a swim, and then you can change the design of the swimming pool so that they keep on swimming up and down until they get exhausted and die. And
Are you serious?
And that's quite entertaining, isn't it?
Is this in? Sorry, is this
it's in the world of Sims?
But in the real world, this really happens.
No.
In the Sims, no. But in the real world, this Sims game that you're talking about,
yes,
really, fine.
You can do that. Anyway, I hope Gerard
suddenly
Butler
Gamer seems, less fantastical by every minute. Anyway, so the story is, so they get this thing put inside them, and then they can be played, okay? And there's an original that starts off that the game is a sort of a simulated but not simulated, and then it turns into a game called Slayer, in which you can play a character that goes around shooting other people. And there's a thing. This is all set up in the first 5 minutes, essentially. People on death row have the chance to be one of the players, and the chances are they won't survive. But if they do, then they get out to be set out free. Gerard Butler is one of the people. He's been put in prison on a false charge, never fully explained, and he's out there slaying, and he now has only a few more games to get through slaying, and once he's done all the slaying, then he may be free, and then he can go and get his wife and child back. And like everyone in these movies, when they do the flashback, everyone who's wrongly in prison seems to have spent some time in a field, a sort of autumnal field, with a nice shirt on, playing jolly games with their child and wife in beautiful sunshine, for which they can have a flashback. It's almost like you cannot be wrongly accused and put in prison unless at some point in your life you had this particular Timotei commercial happen in your life. It's very odd. It's very odd. They never have flashbacks to their life in which their lives... This is always the flashback they have. It's a field and there's a tree and they're sitting back and they've got a shirt on, it's slightly open and everything's very relaxed and the child is running around through some sunlight and it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you don't have that experience, you can obviously not get wrongly convicted. Anyway, so he's running around shooting
history
people.
Lesson.
Yeah, but
Thank you for that.
Watch it. It's something that happens time and time again. Anyway, he's running around shooting people. He is being... operated by a computer geeky nerd sitting at home, and a lot of shooting ensues. Now, in order to do the film justice, of course, one should refer to the BBFC website, because in a way they do this sort of more unemotionally than I do. So, Gamer, we were talking about for the tween-age audience, it's rated 18 for strong bloody violence and sexualised nudity. And the BBFC's report points to near relentless focus on gun violence, strong moments of realistic and bloody violence. So the impact is aggravated by the fact that it's the hero with whom viewers will identify. That's Gerard Butler. This is Sparta. Who is using the violence as a means of resolving all disputes and challenges. All disputes and challenges are resolved by violence. Strong sexualised nudity, images of blah-de-blah-de-blah, brief images of performers swinging on hooks embedded in their skin. It goes on and on and on. So, here's the question. How can a movie with all this, and don't get me wrong, because I have always, in the past been a fan of exploitation movies, exploding helicopters, gratuitous violence. It was funny, Kevin Spacey was on that time we were doing the top 10, and I always said that my problem with the remake of Death Race 2000 was it didn't have enough gratuitous violence. And he said, well, I don't like gratuitous violence in movies, which is frankly rich, coming from somebody who's made some of the movies that he's made. But, if you're going to make a gratuitously violent movie, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. Exploitation cinema, fine. It was kind of where I grew up. That's not a problem. What is a problem is that Gamer is so thuddingly dull that even with all the gratuitous sleaze that's on screen and which is detailed there in the census report, it's very, very hard to concentrate on the screen and to, frankly, stay awake, even in the sort of early morning. Because I saw this thing started at 12 o'clock. It's not early morning, middle of the day as opposed to the evening. It's directed by those two guys, Neville Dean and Taylor. I imagine they're guys, and who are the people behind the Crank movies. And do you remember when I reviewed the first Crank movie, which was Jason Statham? And I said it's not up there with the Transporter series, because the Transporter series of movies really takes what Jason Statham is and does something good fun with them. And
what is it that he is?
Well, he's basically a sort of homoerotic figure. He is. I mean, that's, and he does all that sort of action movie stuff of smothering himself in oil and wrestling other blokes in oil, and
we've all done that.
Yeah, we have all done it, and Jason Statham is very happy to do it in the Transporter movies. And there's a fantastic thing in Transporter 3 in which, he has to do a striptease and he has to do it twice because that's what the film's really all about. And then in the Crank movies, I said the problem is it's sort of missed that, and it just tipped over into the kind of sort of slightly more leery misogyny that makes a lot of exploitation cinema rather boring. And then in Crank 2, there's that sequence when they run... Remember Andrew Collins was on the week that Crank 2 came out, and in fact he walked out of it. The Crank 2 is directed by Neville Eden Taylor, and he walked out of it because he said there was a really appalling scene in a nightclub in which people were shooting in a nightclub, and it was strippers, and there was what was meant to be ha funny about silicone blasting everywhere, which wasn't funny at all, was really... Well, frankly, there is an awful lot of that in Gamer. There's an awful lot of stuff on the screen that's just nasty in its prurience, that demonstrates an attitude towards every woman on screen that is really quite yucky and not in any way entertaining, just slightly loathsome, but done in a way which is meant to sort of have the moral high ground. Is to say, oh, look, these horrible people are making all these women do this, and incidentally, let's have a look at it, and let's have another look at it, and let's have another look at it, and incidentally, have you missed that bit? Let's have another look at it. So there's that. So on the one hand, you've got Gerard Butler running around with a massive great gun, shooting this massive great gun at pretty much everything, and then which is kind of boring. I mean, I imagine that's what playing those shoot 'em up games is just like, and nothing else. And then every now and then, it's like, I tell you what it's like. If you were flipping the channels on a television, and on the one hand there was somebody playing one of those shoot 'em up games, and on the other hand the next channel up was one of those MTV music stations, which literally just consists of shots of people's, what's the word, booty.
Bottoms?
Yeah, well, shaking in I suppose what's designed to be an arousing, exciting manner, but is in fact incredibly depressing and makes you wonder whether the 70s didn't happen, and where's Gloria Steinem when you need her. So it's like that.
How many times do you watch that channel then?
Which channel?
The one with the aforementioned videos with
Well, it's just when you go through that's all it ever is, isn't it? I mean, I don't understand the music. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but maybe that music is brilliant, but it's not, it doesn't matter any time of day or night when you're going up towards CBeebies, which is 70. It doesn't matter what time of day or night, somewhere around 35, there's Woola, 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 there's all that going on. It's just, what?
Woola, Woola, Woola. That's a great channel.
Fine, anyway.
I must look out for that. So, is that Jay-Z who does that Woola, Woola, Woola music? I bet it is.
No. Anyway, so what I'm saying is...
Can I just say thank you to all the listeners who are saying, can you please say JZ?
JZ.
Just to annoy people.
Yes,
anyway,
Mr. JZ.
Sorry, go on.
So... Gerard does nothing but growl, which he doesn't growl as well as Jason Statham, not as well as Jason Statham, and he does a lot of shooting. The shooting is incredibly boring. The visual style is like the Crank movies, which was kind of all right once, boring the second time, and terribly boring the third time. It's like somebody get a tripod, and it makes reference at one point to the martial art movies of Bruce Lee, and that somebody gets struck with 3 stripes, which of course mean that somebody gets 3 bloody stripes, so you're referring to Bruce Lee. And it made me think, the difference between this movie and the Bruce Lee movies is exactly the same as the difference between Chicago and Singing in the Rain. I was talking to Terence Davies about this the other day. Singing in the Rain, that entire Singing in the Rain sequence is done in something like 7 shots, right? Whereas Chicago, every time somebody's foot hits the floor, there's a cut, so you have no idea of the sense of physical performance. Well, in these movies, when Bruce Lee did his movies, you had an incredible sense of somebody doing something really athletic and really brilliant. Really, even if you weren't interested in the story or any of that stuff, you could just watch the physical beauty of Bruce Lee. In these movies now, like Gamer, it's just there's not even that sense, because it's cut. It's just gunfire, boom, squib, gunfire, bang, squib. So boring.
Woola, Woola, Woola.
Woola, Woola, Woola. Yes, and every now and then channel changing, Woola, 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 and then gunfire, Woola, 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 gunfire, gunfire, and that's it. And then it stops. And so it's boring with moments of reprehensibility.